Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our watch club for Marvel's Hawkeye. You're Hawkeye, and who the hell are you? My name is Nate, and this is our watch club for Hawkeye, episode 1, titled Never Meet Your Heroes. If you're joining us for the first time, this is Watch Club, our weekly review series, kind of like a book club, but way better. Keep in mind, we will be going into full spoilers for this series and the MCU in general, so if you haven't watched this week's episode, then go watch it and then come right back and join us faster than a speeding arrow. Now, before we're all jumped by a bunch of bros, let me introduce you to all the hot guys joining us today. First up, he's a straight shooter whose aim with a camera is right on target. He's Justin Lawrence.
Sup, bro? How you doing?
Hello, bro. He's my bro. And listen, he takes no bullseyes from nobody, and he's always ready to let loose. He's the king of Christmas, Kevin the Hawkman Hudson.
Ho, ho, holy moly. I got to say, this might be the longest we've gone in between watch clubs since we started.
I think
so. I've been longing to hear, it's like a book club, only better, for so long now.
Well, it is. It is much
back.
better than a book club. Yeah, you don't have to read anything. It's good to be back. I'm stoked to go in depth. We've got yet another Marvel Disney Plus live action series. We got 6 episodes to jump through. And so, this watch club, a little bit different. We know there's 2 episodes out. But we are going to be focusing on episode 1 for this one, and then we've got another watch club coming at you real soon for episode 2. So, guys, let's shoot this dangly thingy and just get right into the episode. We start this episode off in 2012, is where we see this series kick off, and we see a young Kate Bishop. She's spying on her parents and all their marital issues, and then we get a nice moment with her dad, and you're kind of like, well, that guy's not going to last. And then later that day, she gathers her checkers board and she starts to feel a rumbly in the building. And we see as unfortunately Kate suffers the loss of her home at the hands of the Chitauri warriors. And during the attack, she witnesses Hawkeye being a straight-up badass just before her mother whisks her away to safety. And then at the end of that segment, we learn that it wasn't just her home that she lost. Her dad was also killed during the attack. And at the funeral, we get the sort of classic cliche superhero inspiration moment of, she turns to her mom and she just says, "I need a bow and arrow." So guys, let's start with this opener. What did you guys think of seeing the attack on New York from this different perspective?
This is probably the best opening to a Marvel show on Disney Plus yet, I think. It was high stakes. It was a big budget spectacle, and I mean, the Battle of New York is just so pinnacle in the MCU, and to us as fans, it was that first huge moment in Marvel, and so anytime we get a chance to revisit it, they did a great job in Endgame. This was awesome to see familiar sights, but from a different perspective again. It just shows how it shaped us as an audience, but also this young girl as she grows up.
Absolutely, and that's the biggest thing that I love is we're so deep into the MCU now that, getting to see these events from different perspectives, I kind of want to see other events from different perspectives as well. We got a bit of that in Loki. We've gotten it, as you said, in Endgame, a little bit in Ant-Man, but, I really enjoyed seeing this from Kate's perspective, and I like that we kind of have a character that, she's a street level character, but she's not necessarily on the streets, right? She comes from money. And so to kind of see that perspective is interesting in the MCU, because normally we see the sort of downtrodden, down on their luck kind of hero. And this is somebody who, she's not coming from no wealth. And so it's just kind of an interesting sort of place to put your character.
Sure. I guess it's the same sort of thing as Tony Stark, though, at the same time, right? He comes from money and he knows that he can do something different. I think, if anything, though, like Kevin said, it really does establish how the events that mean so much to us from the MCU are shaping and impacting, the future heroes that we will see. And I think this is a great way to kind of, call back to a very important pivotal moment within the MCU and really connect the dots to how it impacted Kate Bishop's character. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that they did that. And I think, again, as Kevin mentioned, I think it would be great to see in other series and other movies, other events that kind of correlate with the development or the growth of new characters.
Yeah, it'd be cool if, I think it's a great way to use those remixes, right? You instead of seeing the origin stories from completely out of left field, we see how maybe some of the things that we've already experienced as an audience have shaped some of these new heroes. So if this is how they kind of want to bring us into these young Avengers, into like a Miss Marvel, I am so for it. And I just thought, yeah, it was really good. I will say the only thing that sort of had me a little down on it, it was a little cliche. It did feel a little sort of... It was probably the cheesiest part of the episode for me, was the sort of just, they're at the funeral and I need a bow and arrow. And I was just like, that part felt a little unrealistic for me for a series and for a show that is so grounded in reality. That part was a little bit on the cheesy side, but other than that, it wasn't too bad. Justin, I wanted to just quickly mention, I think you had a theory. We were kind of talking a little bit off air. I mean, her dad died in that attack, right?
Well, my theory was that, there was obviously some sort of marital problems that were going on, as you described. They were fighting, and they were saying they would have to sell the house. And my theory was that Eleanor Bishop said that she's gonna go, she'll be right back. While Kate went and got the checkerboard, and where did she go?
Right.
If not to deal with her husband. And then I don't know. I thought maybe he was already dead before the attack even happened, because we'll get
really
into
intriguing.
It.
I mean, geez, that's certainly convenient, but I think it's perfectly plausible that her father's still alive, just because if you don't see it, did it actually happen?
Did it actually happen? Right. And we've seen characters who we have literally seen die in the MCU and come back. So it's very possible. But I just, the moment you sort of mentioned that off air, I was just kind of like, that's really intriguing. And I wonder if they might bring, Eleanor as more of a villain in the series. But listen, the episode then cuts to present day. We see Kate. She's hanging out with her friends, causing trouble. Seems to be a theme for her throughout the episode. And we also learn about her mother's new untrustworthy fiance, Jack, his less trustworthy uncle, Armand, and Armand the Seventh, I think, was the other little kid, which was a great little joke there. And after a black market auction gone wrong, we get to see Kate. She's wearing the suit of the infamous Ronin, and then she's attacked by a bunch of bros in tracksuits. It's kind of the majority of her story for this episode. So, clearly we're getting our look at our first sort of, I guess, villains of the series. Let's start off with the bros. Any thoughts on the bros? Do you think what's going on with Jack could have anything to do with them? Like, what is your takeaway so far? I
mean, first and foremost, I think the bros are clearly just the henchmen for a much bigger baddie, but they're a fun addition to the show. Like they're a great sort of fresh set of henchmen than we've seen, especially in this series or anything like that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. They're obviously henchmen to someone who's of much more importance. But there was a lot of things that kind of played out really interesting in that the sequence there with the black market auction. It kind of introduced how Jack, there's some suspicion around him, and we know based on his character and who he is from the comics, the swordsman. There's already this sort of heightened realization that he potentially could be, shady, if for lack of better words. But to see him obviously in this auction and to see, the events that went down and obviously him walk out with the Ronin sword, that was obviously important. But it didn't seem like that's what the bros were there for. They were there for a Tony Stark watch, it looked like, that was taken from the Avengers compound.
Interesting. So we get more of those connections. That's pretty cool.
I just see this Jack character, and he might as well be standing there twisting his mustache with the top hat on. Like he's just like so over the top suspicious that I don't believe that he will turn out to be our bad guy. Like we're gonna learn more about this character and be sort of surprised about who he is.
I think he's a red herring.
Exactly.
You absolutely
sure,
calling
absolutely,
it. I think they're leaning too hard on the can't trust him sort of vibe of the guy. I think you're right. But I think just like the bros, I think he could be maybe a shill to a larger, bigger villain, whoever the big bad is for the series. I would love to see maybe he has some sort of connection, or if the bros have some sort of connection to another Russian accented character that we know is going to be joining the show. We're going to be getting Yelena Belova at some point. Is that maybe a great way to sort of bring her in, either through him or through the bros? I think would be pretty interesting.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
Right? Russian people, they all know each other, I'm sure.
It's a small country.
But no, yeah, I think we will definitely learn more about them pretty quickly. So we see her rescue a dog. She heads back to, like, I think her apartment, and then back to Armand's place, only to discover, and this is kind of the big shocking part of the entire episode, for her character at least, that he has been murdered. He is dead on the ground. So, any thoughts on the biggest question of the episode? Who murdered Armand? What are your thoughts? Who do you think so far? Do we think it's Jack? Do you think he stabbed him with that sword?
Well, again, going back to the auction scene, it was clear that there was a bit of tension there. And there was also, tension between Eleanor and Armand. I feel like there's something shady going on here. And obviously we're going to get more as to what, but I don't know. I'm kind of wondering if, Armand was meant to pick up this sword for someone else. And upon that person coming to claim that sword and finding out he doesn't have it, killed him. So
interesting. Yeah, that could very well be the case. I do really, but you planted this seed, Justin, of Eleanor being this character that just makes her problems go away. And I really like that in terms of, like, if that was the case, because she's got a daughter who's a badass. Like, who's to say that she's not just out there, just like, you're gonna threaten me and my family? No, you're gone. And maybe she is this big mob boss that we're all referring to.
Clearly up to no good. She's far more than meets the eye, and that's apparent from the very first scene that we've already talked about right through here. She does not seem like an innocent person, unaware of a lot of the things going on around here. She might be pulling the strings. Yeah, like, there's so many possibilities.
The biggest thing too is, on two separate instances in this episode, Eleanor says, it's not your job to protect me, it's my job to protect you. And I think that just is very much a flex of the sort of power that she has and the control that she can kind of, wield. So
she's a mom. Don't
it
go
was
up against
Eleanor
moms, dude.
all along.
Right? Let's go. I'm on the Eleanor train now. The dog, originally called Arrow in the comics, we can see that he's already been injured and beat him up. I'm assuming they've got that character, they've got him already, like, with the eye and everything at that stage, because, like, nobody wants to see that to happen to a sweet little pup. So, but I do hope we get some action scenes. I know in the comics he does some pretty dope stuff. So it'd be interesting to see. I hope it's not too CGI fake, like him catching an arrow in the middle of the air or something like that. But I'm really stoked to see more from him. So while this is all going down, let's get over to the other half of the episode, where we see Clint Barton and his kids, and they're attending Rogers the Musical, which he rightly walks out of. And Justin, I think you said you would want to walk out of that one too.
Yeah, if I was him, for sure.
If you were him, for sure. Well, I mean, because he's experiencing these bouts of PTSD. You see him see the Natasha character on stage, and it sort of gets to him, and he turns off his. This is also the first time we get to actually see that character with the hearing aid. Before we get into, like, the PTSD and stuff like that, can we just talk about this musical?
Yeah,
Because holy crap!
You can't just skip
so
over
good.
the probably the best part of the episode, right? This was so well done. Like, it is harrowing by the end of it when you see how it's affecting Hawkeye. But
sure,
at first, it's absolutely incredible. If somebody doesn't capitalize on this and turn this into a full-length Broadway, like a spoofy, fun take on it, would be so much better than anything they could do in a serious capacity. And this would just be incredible.
My gosh. Just the line, I could do this all day. Like, it was just
He'd have a song about America's ass. Like, it would be incredible.
Like, there is so much they could do with it. You get maybe Trey Parker and Matt Stone to join up with the Marvel team. And, oh, my gosh, that would sell so much. So good. Justin, what did you think of that musical? Would that be, I know you said you'd walk out if you were Clint. Would you walk out if you were Justin, though?
I don't know. Like, I think for me, watching this, it was funny. The lyrics were quippy. I loved how they were trying to figure out the plan through, musical song and dance. But I don't know, like, as much as it is, a parody and it's super funny, it just goes to show how far the MCU world or timeline has gotten away from the events of 2012, to the point where it's now been parodied as a musical. I I just think that it's very fitting that someone like Hawkeye would walk out because, you know, he lived that event. He went through that trauma. He's still dealing with that trauma. And, you know, here is a bunch of people that are taking for granted their lives, and they've turned it into this, you know, musical.
I never even thought about it from a broader perspective like that, Just. Like, I totally honed in on and understood why Clint was suffering from it. But when you phrased it that certain way, this would be like, and I honestly, obviously I'm not making light of anything, this would be 9/11 the musical almost, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
And that is crazy that for us it would be a funny thing because it's based on movies, but this is their real life and they're just laughing at it. Wow. I never even realized how offensive it really is.
Thought of the same analogy. It's like going to see a 9/11 musical. No one's going to do that because of just how much of a toll it has. We'll see movies and stories that tell about the heroism that happened and, you know, the events that went down, but I don't know if anyone's going to make light of it. And I get that they're not necessarily making light of what happened in 2012 and just that moment, but they're also making light of Rogers' journey, right? And you know, Steve Rogers is a hero. And you know, again, being able to see 2012 in two different aspects in the same episode, first at the beginning, damaging effect on New York and shapes Kate Bishop to want to be a hero. You know, we see it here being very lighthearted. You know, everyone's having fun. Ant-Man's there when he shouldn't have been there.
Right.
And,
I love that.
You know,
I love he's like, that guy wasn't there.
Yeah. So like, again, it just goes to show that, you know, Clint is dealing with the emotional distress that being an Avenger has had on him and his physicality and his psyche. And, you know, even just to the point when he goes to the urinal, when he leaves and he sees Thanos was right. It's just that reminder of like, was it really worth it?
And you see him living with it whether he wants to or not, and in ways that it actually does benefit him, but he doesn't want it, right? We see the dinner scene where he's like, no, you saved the city, like, no, that's not necessary, but he you know, the dinner's on the restaurant, and I just thought that part was interesting because you sort of see him look at his kids like he's kind of not necessarily like embarrassed, but he just it doesn't feel normal. Right?
He doesn't want to take the charity, right? Like
right.
For
he wants
doing
it
what
to
was
just
right.
be right.
Yeah.
He just wants to be a normal person, and I think it really speaks to the aspect of celebrity as well, which is kind of a neat thing to see in the MCU because we don't really get that too much in terms of getting to see them. You know, there's the people that are close to them, but they're oftentimes in the military and things like that. So to see, you know, everyday humans interact with these people and treat them as if they're big time celebrities and like they're to be looked at is really interesting.
Well, yeah, and it comes right back to that whole they're celebrities because of their part in a tragedy. And you know, it's one thing to be a famous actor and people want to take pictures and autographs and buy you dinner. It's another when the reason they know who you are is because of what you've gone through. And like you just look at Kate, like if Kate Bishop was in that theater for that play, she'd walk out too because, you know, that day she lost her father that
was the day her dad died.
Yeah, it's just crazy to think about how these people are not your typical celebrities because they're born often from tragedy or things they don't want to reflect on often.
Interesting. Well, I mean, again, if it was a parody thing in our world, I think it would be pretty hilarious. But yeah, for those characters who lived it, it's probably not the greatest thing to watch. So obviously he walks out, they go to dinner, and then after getting back to the hotel, you know, he witnesses on the news, the kids pop on the news like, it's too late for TV, kids, gotta go to bed. And they pop it on, and they're like, yo, a ninja saved a dog. And he looks at the screen and he witnesses a ghost from his dark past sort of alive again and fleeing from the explosion at the gala event. So he runs out to the street to confront the vigilante, only to discover they're being attacked again by those bros. And so they beat them up and that sort of thing. Before we keep going here, what did you guys think of the action from this episode? I mean, this is our first sort of taste of the sort of Hawkeye action. Did you enjoy it? Did you find it was good? What do you think?
Well, it wasn't, flip-de-doo, superhero style. It was very grounded martial arts, sort of practical action.
Punch you in the face kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
Action.
It felt very suited to the hero that we're watching this story through the lens of, which is Hawkeye. So it felt very grounded. So it does make sense. We haven't obviously gotten into full bow and arrows yet, but once that happens, then we're in full swing.
I can't wait. I mean, we got that preview scene with them with Kate trying out the different arrows or whatever. She's like the trick arrows and things like that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how creative they can get with that aspect.
Well, yeah, because they can't rely on, you called them the flip-de-doos, just because this is so grounded and street level that we're going to build up through these episodes with more and more action and bigger set pieces, leading up to the car, and I think we'll get a huge finale and everything. But this was such a great introduction. It was a simple, quick, easy fight, right? Well choreographed, but it's just going to build on that without getting too extreme and too Marvel-esque. It'll be grounded like the first part of Shang-Chi, right?
Right, and I love that her, she's got the background for the kind of explaining why she's so good, which is literally just she got her black belt when she was like super young, and I think the biggest thing for her, I mean, we see during the intro, which we never even chatted about, but that sort of intro sequence, which is obviously very Matt Fraction artistry designed, we sort of see all the different things that she's grown up doing in that intro, right? They kind of show the different sort of sports that she does.
We see the kind of person she is because of the accomplishments she makes, and they capture that really well in the illustrative intro titles of showing her as growing up and practicing archery, working in gymnastics and martial arts and all that sort of stuff. And I think that was such a smart way to show a passing of time, to show again, her ability of, because I think that's kind of going to be her superpower, and I use air quotes around that,
right?
Is her ability to always strive to be the best, to be an achiever, and to be top in her game. And I think that we go right from that and right into seeing her try to hit the bell, right? It just goes to show that sort of cocky, naive, very young nature of her mentality, where she's still figuring it out, but she has a lot to be cocky about, because she's really good at what
she's accomplished a lot. But I think that those accomplishments are overcompensations for the fact that she wasn't ready when her dad died, when they were attacked, right? You see her in that funeral scene. She's like, will they come back? And, clearly she's trying to do so much to make sure that when they come back, she's ready. Right, and I'm stoked to kind of see how she shows off more of that prowess going forward.
Well, I just think it goes back to who are her parents, right? Is it genetics? Are they also incredibly gifted at a wide variety of things, and it's genetics? And B, what kind of parent pushes their kid to do that sort of thing? Often they're encouraging them to, learn these skills, right? Subconsciously, maybe.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think it could be genetics, because I thought it was interesting. There's the scene when she's a kid in 2012 when they're in the kitchen. Eleanor's like, moms can be cool. Did you know I could do this? And she pops the plate and fruit goes up in her mouth and she catches it. Then in the scene where she's dressed in the Ronin costume at the secret auction, she does the same sort of trick and pops a bottle into someone's face from the ground. So and she hits the target.
I like that.
It's an interesting small little callback that I might be reading far deep into it, but at the same time, it's like it was the same pop. They gave it the same sort of visual.
Oh no, it's 100% a callback. Great shout there. That's a great spot, and it just shows you she's so much more than meets the eye.
Well, listen, Clint pops his fist into a couple of those bros and rescues who we know is Kate, who he hasn't found out yet, and he gets her and pulls her aside into the side of the street and pops her hood off, and Kate, she's freaking out. She's like, you're Hawkeye, and of course he responds with, and who the hell are you? And then we get that kick to the end of the episode with some good music to wrap up the episode. So, guys, what did you think? Of this sort of, we're left with this, I guess, this cliffhanger or Clint hanger. Are you too excited to see, these two team up?
Again, we've seen the second episode, so we're obviously not going to talk about it. So we know where things are going to go, but I do like how this ended very much like the conclusion of one part of a film. Kevin, you were saying that the structure felt very segmented, like parts of a movie that have just been cut up into episodes, and that's probably how this is going to play out. And I think we got some of that in The Falcon and Winter Soldier, but with like loop-de-doo plot holes and just sort of reworking, it didn't come off as well. So hopefully they don't have that here, but knowing where we're going to be going in episode 2, I think that it does have this nice sort of cliffhanger right into the next episode, sort of ending. So I think that it works well.
Yeah, it's interesting because I mean just recently, I think IGN put up a story about how Marvel decided to switch Hawkeye from being a movie into a series, and it talks about the ability to sort of be a little more flexible with the characters, explore them a lot more. I think it's interesting because we've gone back and forth on the idea of Falcon and Winter Soldier. Should it have been a series? Should it have been a movie? And I think ultimately a lot of people are on the camp of it probably should have been more of a movie. So it's going to be interesting to see, once all 6 episodes are out, is this going to have that same effect on people, or are we going to be glad that we got all 6 40-minute long episodes with these characters?
I think that was a question that came up in the press conference, and Rhys Thomas was mentioning that this just affords more time. This affords more time in a series capacity to spend with these characters. There's not necessarily a need to rush into the finish line. There's just more of an opportunity here. Now, I totally agree with you. I think the Falcon and Winter Soldier, for the story that it was trying to tell, it felt like a bit of a stretch. Like they were stretching it to fit 6 episodes, not really having everything intact, and I think that shows.
Yeah, I 100% agree with both of you. I think Falcon and Winter Soldier would have worked better as a movie because you noticed, especially in the later episodes, they were literally doing things like taking them apart for 15 minutes just to bring them back together. It was like they were buying time to fill out the runtime, whereas here, this show, and we know this from episode 2, the strength so far going into episode 2 is the chemistry between these two characters, and we just spent 35 minutes and they haven't even been on screen together. And we've gone through a great first episode and we haven't even got that chemistry yet. They say one line to each other, it instantly defines their relationship going forward, but we haven't seen any. It leaves you we're just getting started.
Well, listen, we're just getting started with this series, but I kind of want to get to the end of this watch club here. I want to know, what are your overall thoughts and your final score, which for this episode, we're going to be rating on a scale of 1 to 5 broken bell towers. Kevin, why don't you kick us off, bud?
Personally, I absolutely loved it. This show feels like it's tailored to be my favorite of the Marvel series so far. It's just that grounded street level Marvel that I prefer over the bigger, bolder stuff. Plus, it's at Christmas. Yeah. I'm in. The Christmas vibes resonate through this episode. It's just so jolly and fun. And I think it just does a terrific job of... They're so smart to have put that second episode because everybody's going to want more right away. And I just think this show's only going to get bigger and better and more enjoyable as we go along. So I'm going to start low because I think it's only going to get better. So I'm going to start with a 4.6 out of 5 ringing bell towers.
Wow, that's low.
I'm
okay.
low. A couple 5s here, boys. I just see it happen.
He's putting it out there into the universe. Justin, what do you think?
Well, I said most of what I thought sort of in our spoiler-free discussion, but I'll just reiterate some of it. The street level story is just a really nice reminder of the Earthbound characters and the importance that they play in the MCU. So to see, how they structured this episode by focusing on both Kate and then Clint and then having them find each other at the end of this episode, I think that was really smart. We got to see a taste of both of their sides and also opposite ends, right? Someone who is like Kate Bishop, naive, energetic, charming. It serves as a reminder of what young heroes look like, but what overconfidence looks like and what it looks like when someone's looking for trouble. Because I think in this episode, very much trouble didn't find her. She went looking for that trouble, very much so. And you have Clint. And I think with Clint's character portrayal in this series, and I'm very interested to see it, there's such an emotional distress that serves as a bit of a point of conversation, as he's been both a hero and a vigilante, as the Ronin. That's going to take center stage in this series and sort of highlight the looming effects that being a hero of the Avengers has on the psyche. And I think we got just a taste of that in this episode with that whole play scene where he walks out. But we also point out that he's losing his hearing, and this has a toll. And it's just a reminder of the real thing about Clint is that he's a human. He doesn't have superpowers. He is a great marksman. He knows his target. He knows how to hit that target. And that's about it, really, right? He has more to him that is real than maybe some of the other heroes. I know Tony was in a suit of armor, and that was very much a metaphor for the character that he was. But I think that the superpower that we're really going to see take center stage here is his commitment to his family and his loved ones, and what that importance is. And, like Kevin said, grounding this in holidays and putting it in a holiday theme that already just kind of speaks to family. I think it's just so smart. So yeah, I'm going to give this one a 4.5 out of 5 broken bell towers.
Well, for me, I said in our preview, I was jazzed getting into this series. I'm jazzed about the idea of continuing to get these characters that people don't even care about. A few years ago, or even as we're watching the first Avengers movies, as we're watching the events of 2012, we didn't really care too much about Hawkeye. I don't think the general public could say they did. And so to be able to see a character in this light now, as we've grown with the character, and getting to see them in this series and have this series kind of reshape that character for us, and see how it reshaped Kate, I think is going to be really, really cool. So I think the episode does such a great job, as I said, of keeping Kate and Clint apart long enough for us to catch up with Clint and get to know Kate and her mom and everything that's going on in that side. So I think the action is fantastic. It's more of that grounded level Daredevil hallway action that we always talk about, and I'm all for it. I loved seeing Clint as a dad. I think, again, it speaks to the aspect of family and the human aspect of him, and I think he's a great dad. I was like, I want to be this guy's son, and actually, believe it or not, one of his sons' name is named Nathaniel, which is pretty dope. So I was like,
and they have a motto, "Don't lose Nate," which is very similar.
Nate. It's the same thing you guys say whenever we're walking around the city.
Don't lose Nate.
Don't lose Nate.
And we always do.
But I am, I'm so charming, and Haley Steinfeld is so charming as well. Lovely. She's so lovely as Kate, and I think it's a bit cheesy. It's a bit cliche in terms of her motivation to become a hero. I think that wasn't as grounded as I think the episode and the series is going to give us. I think that street level realism is really refreshing for the MCU. So more of that, please. And I think, every now and then we do get to see it. And so I'm hoping we get more. But this episode did a great job of kicking things off. But I have a really strong feeling that the best is yet to come. So I'm gonna start off really low here. Really low. And I'm gonna give this this episode a 4 out of 5 broken bell towers. Great stuff, Marvel. Let's go. All right, well, that's it for this series premiere of our Watch Club for Marvel's Hawkeye. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Watch Club, and if you did, make sure to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to podcasts, if you haven't already. And if you want to write into the show with your thoughts or predictions on the shows we cover in Watch Club, or, if there's something we missed in this episode that you're like, they didn't even talk about that, please let us know. Throw us that question. And Justin, can you let our listeners know where to aim to be able to reach us? I don't know. I was trying to come up with something.
That was a good one. Well, they can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. But if you don't want to email us, you can reach us on Twitter at GeekcentricYT or on Instagram at wearegeekcentric. So you have 3 targets to hit.
People needed to see Nate's arms doing the motion as he said that to really get why that was so amazing.
Yeah.
Well, yes, I like to sort of, I'm a very handsy kind of talker. You know what I mean? I'm going to use my actions here. Keep in mind, we also have a ton of other episodes covering the latest and greatest shows and movies out now, including our spoiler-filled review for Ghostbusters Afterlife, as well as our spoiler-free review for both Netflix's Cowboy Bebop and Masters of the Universe Revelations Part 2. We also have our latest trailer drop for that second Spider-Man trailer that I'm sure everyone has seen a million billion times. So if you want to listen to those, hear our thoughts on all that stuff, and leave a 5-star review, that would just be wonderful. Justin, Kevin, thank you so much for joining me for this Watch Club. And as we say,
good boy,
Pizza Dog.